There are a number of experts stating that the real estate market is going to be off to a hot start in 2024. Some even stating that now is the sweet spot, or the calm before the storm, if you will, before prices start to increase due to high demand. Now, coming from a sluggishly slow 2023, this is really hard to believe. Last year, the number of transactions in the Phoenix area was the second worst to 2008. 2023 is this nice pink line right here, and when we add 2008, you can see that is the only time transactions have been lower than they were last year. We ended the year around 72,000 transactions, and in 2008, we only had about 58,000. So what's changing to make experts say that they think this year might be a little bit hotter than last year? Well, first let's look at mortgage rates. Mortgage rates haven't moved all that much since the start of the year. They've been hanging out in a pretty good spot after going down over the last few months. We're sitting around 6.7-ish at the end of last week, which is a big change from the 8% rates we were seeing in October. Now, last week we got some key economic data, which we thought could potentially move rates, but it didn't seem to make that much of an impact. We actually got the jobs data saying that US payrolls increased by 216,000 in December, which was better than expected. Unemployment hung around the same point, about 3.7%, but it was estimated to go up to 3.8%. So according to the mortgage experts, last week was potential to be market moving for mortgage rates, but we didn't see too much change, which is good news for buyers and good news for you if you're a seller, because you may start to see some more activity on your listing if rates stay in a good place. Now, I know every week I harp on rates and I'm not a mortgage lender, but this is so important because it really does affect our market, because it affects affordability. And if buyers cannot afford homes, then we don't have activity out there and prices therefore start to come down. So we have to look at the full picture. For example, I wanted to share this article that I recently saw. Homebuyers are now paying $400 less per month than they were in October. And this is all because of interest rates. They're saying the median mortgage payment was nearly $400 less per month in December when mortgage rates had peaked in October. This is according to Redfin. So even though we haven't seen too much movement in prices, mortgage rates really make a big difference in terms of affordability. Now, according to Redfin, their homebuyer demand index is actually up 10% from a month ago, and that's the highest level since August. So what does this mean? This means that Redfin is saying they're seeing more home buyers going out there, which is good news for sellers. And if you're a buyer, you may want to consider getting out there sooner than later if you don't want to have a lot of competition. Now, there's no guarantee that all of these buyers are coming off the sideline and there will be tons of competition, but we are starting to see demand creep up here in Phoenix as well, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. While I'm harping on affordability, to break this down even further, Redfin says the median mortgage payment was about $2,361 for the 4 weeks ending December 31st. And that's 14% lower than it was when rates hit a 23-year high of 7.79% late October. Speaking of affordability, if you're a first-time home buyer, you may want to check out this article. Lennar just launched a new division of their homes called Premier Homes, and it's designed for first-time home buyers specifically. Basically, Lennar has collaborated with many of its business partners to create lower monthly payments for first-time home buyers. They were prompted to do this, seeing the growth in home prices in the Phoenix area and wanting to provide affordable homes for first-time home buyers. So here's a number of the communities where they'll be offering these homes. They say that they're 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes with a 2-car garage, about 1,250 to 1,400 square feet, and they're starting in the low 300s. Now, I know many people have their opinion on different builders in the valley, but finding a new construction home in the low 300s is a pretty good deal. So if you're in that situation, you may want to check out some of these communities and check the description below for our first-time home buyer resources. Switching gears, let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, luxury in the Phoenix area. I found this interesting and wanted to share. I also fact-checked it with the MLS to see if this is correct, but I found out that before the year 2020, there was never more than 2,000 homes in the Phoenix area that sold for over $1 million. And in 2023, there were more than 4,800 homes that sold for over $1 million. Doing some quick math, I found out that in 2019, only about 2% of home sales were over $1 million, and in 2023, it was about 7.5%. So we talk about affordability in a number of different ways. Mortgage rates obviously affecting affordability, but it's no doubt we've had some price increases in the Phoenix area over the last few years, and this is also something that impacts affordability for buyers. I just did a YouTube short about this, so you can see it if you want to check that out. But prior to 2020, we did consider anything over $1 million to be luxury, and now it's got to be like $1.5 to $2 million at a minimum to be considered luxury in our market. It's just crazy how quickly things have changed. So let's talk a little bit more about why some experts think this year might finally be a good time to buy a home. And if you're getting any value out of this, please consider subscribing and share this with someone who would appreciate it. So Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, I've shared some of his thoughts in the past. He actually says the worst in home sales is over, and this will be a year of home sale recovery. Now, he is attributing much of this to the decline in mortgage rates lately and seeing affordability a bit more manageable for home buyers. Another expert is saying that now might be the sweet spot to jump into the real estate market and get a little bit more for your money. She thinks that once there's too much rate adjustment that we're going to see soaring of pricing. So is this really the calm before the storm? I gotta tell you, I've been hearing from a lot of clients coming out of the woodwork getting ready to get out there and buy again. And from all of the experts that I listen to and watch and articles I keep up with, it sure sounds like everyone is anticipating a pretty busy spring season. Now, of course, we could all be wrong, but let's take a look at what the Cromford Market Index is saying, because that's always a great guide for us. Between this week and last week, you'll see that demand went up just a little bit and supply went down just a little bit. So once again, these two are moving in the opposite direction, which is putting more pressure on the overall index to go upward. This week, we're at 110.8. Anything over 110 is considered a seller's market, and this is for the entire Phoenix metro area. So just because we're at 110 does not mean that everything is a crazy seller's market. We're just barely inching into that. But what I do want to recognize is that we were at the low hundreds just a few weeks ago. So this has definitely climbed in a different direction, and we're starting to see more strength in the market because some of that demand is coming back and we're not seeing a whole lot of supply hitting the market. Now, when I said earlier that I've had a lot of buyer clients reaching out, I've also had a lot of seller clients reaching out too. And many times what I start to feel in my business from my clients tends to play out in the broader market. So if I'm trusting my gut, I might say there may be a few more listings. We might see supply going up as well, but who knows for sure. Now let's look at every city, all these major cities on the Cromford Market Index. You can see we have a lot of green arrows again. Just a few short weeks ago, this was just red arrows going down. To explain this to all of you, if you are new here, a green arrow means that the seller got the advantage in that city, so their CMI went up slightly when they look at the percent change month over month. And if it's a red arrow, that means that the seller got a disadvantage. Their CMI went down on a month over month basis. Some of these are some small changes like Maricopa and Tempe, and some are some bigger changes like Fountain Hills had a 20% change in the direction favorable for sellers. We're also seeing Surprise with a pretty big change in a direction favorable for sellers as well. Now, as I said, anything over 110 is considered a seller's market. So everything from Tempe up to Fountain Hills in this group here is technically in a seller's market. Between 90 to 110 is considered balance according to the Cromford Market Index. So we've got Peoria, Goodyear, Surprise, and Paradise Valley in a balanced market, and Cave Creek, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa technically in a buyer's market. So in order to continue to see this trend, we need to see demand recovering as it has been lately. And that will happen if we see mortgage rates stay where they're at or possibly even go down. In addition to that, we need to see supply stay where it's at or start to go down. Basically, if supply and demand are heading in different directions, that will bring the CMI up, which puts us further into a seller's market, and eventually we'll likely see prices go up as well. But price is really a lagging indicator. So if you are a buyer out there right now trying to figure out when you want to get out and buy a house, what you really need to think about is the amount of competition. If there aren't a lot of buyers out there, you have an opportunity to negotiate so much more. But when you're competing against multiple buyers, well, that's when it gets really difficult. So keep an eye on that demand index, because that is going to be telling as far as what you can expect when you're out there as a buyer. And for sellers, everything is trending in a good direction for you to have more strength in the market. So if you're considering listing your home, now might be a good time to get started on that and catch that spring busy season. My team has a pretty cool tool that gives you a monthly home valuation and creative ways to use the equity in your home. So check the description below to sign up for that. And first-time home buyers, make sure to check out this video here if you're wondering how to determine your budget for buying a house. I'll see you guys in the next video.